Hi everyone. I wanted to talk about psychoanalysis. So, what is psychoanalysis? Psychoanalysis is a unique mode of discourse that unfolds in what we call the analytic situation. And that is a therapeutic context in which a relationship is formed between the analyst and the analysand, or the patient, the person seeking analysis. So what does it really mean when we say psychoanalysis? What does analysis mean? I think that in ordinary speech, we consider the meaning of that word as some kind of intellectual process of thinking about something and breaking it down. But analysis, if we trace it to its Greek root, really means loosening, to loosen something. So I think of psychoanalysis as a process of loosening via speech. What's being loosened? The unconscious, right? So as we speak, especially when we speak in the mode of analytic discourse, which is a unique mode of speech, we're speaking an unmediated kind of discourse. We're speaking from the unconscious itself and allowing it to reveal its shape to us, to reveal its form and process and logic to us. And when we do that, we begin to listen and hear and see what exactly the unconscious is and what exactly the nature of the symptom is. So I think of analysis as a process of loosening the knot that is the symptom simply by speaking it aloud and being given an opportunity, an invitation to speak. So usually when we speak, we are not engaged in what we could call analytic discourse. Analytic discourse is a unique mode of speech, and I think of it in relationship to the word mantra. Mantra means a syllable behind thought. So it's a kind of a phrase or a syllable or a word that is invocatory, that constitutes a unique mode of discourse because, or even a prayer, what we could call a prayer, right? When we recite mantras, we are invoking the spirit of a deity or a philosophical idea. For example, in the Upanishads, we have the idea of mahavakyas. A mahavakya means a great utterance. And through engaging in discourse with one's master, the disciple would realize the truth of these great utterances, which would become a form of realization. But that realization would unfold through the process of discourse, through listening to the master, but also through speaking, through engaging with the teaching. So I really think that psychoanalysis, although that word and the tradition of its practice that we refer to today is something we trace to Freud, it's actually a practice that goes back much farther than that, and that actually has Eastern origins to it in a sense. So in for example, in the Vedantic tradition, we call this inquiry, right? Inquiry in Sanskrit is vichāra. Vichāra doesn't just mean to think about something, just like analysis doesn't mean just to intellectualize something. To to engage with in vichāra means that you are actually inquiring into something. And what is being inquired into in Vedanta is the nature of reality and the nature of the self. So the self is the primary knot that needs to be undone, you could say. When it's undone, sort of the mantric speech becomes evident, becomes what is spoken. So really in psychoanalysis as well, we are looking to engender and engage with a certain kind of discourse that I would describe as mantric, in that it's behind thought, it's before thought, it's prior to thought, it's unmediated. And that unmediated thought is not just something happening in the brain or something that's preconceived or something that is based on an idea or a philosophy. It is in some sense the pure speech of the unconscious itself. So when we come into that situation, what we can call an analytic situation, where that form of discourse, that form of speech is being revealed and listened to and heard and then even seen and shaped in the context of the analytic relationship, then we are realizing a different kind of therapy than what I would call psychotherapy. So psychoanalysis is not psychotherapy in the sense that it's not looking to make a diagnosis, it's not looking to treat a symptom, it's not analyzing a symptom in the sense of the DSM or any other clinical categories, so to speak. We're not really taking this pathological idea. We're simply inviting the patient to speak. And when we really pose that invitation and we engage with the inquiry that unfolds on its basis, a profound kind of encounter unfolds, a profound situation reveals itself. And in that very simplicity, and that makes psychoanalysis something that's more about self-exploration, self-discovery, and personal evolution than, say, getting diagnosed with ADHD, or getting treated for this or that, or finding out that you have narcissistic personality disorder, etc. We're really looking to get to the root of all of that, right? What is the main process and pattern that is binding the individual? That binding is what I would call a knot, right? So psychoanalysis is really an unknotting of the symptom. And I think of it as something that is a creative affair, that is an artistic event, that not only through the process of the psychoanalytic encounter and process are we exploring, the unconscious, but we're also unlocking a creative force that exists in the unconscious. So by speaking, we give the unconscious a body, right? And when we give it a body, we also are translating the symptom into a work of art. And so I really think that one of the great outcomes, so to speak, of psychoanalysis is an artistic realization, an aesthetic realization, and not necessarily a clinical or treatment based realization. This is really what I find liberating about psychoanalysis. The experience, the practice, and the process of it is that it's a non clinical event, and it's not ego reinforcing. It actually seeks to establish a context of being that exists in reality, that is more fundamental than the sense of the I, the sense of I'm somebody in this body. Because when we speak, we realize that our speech actually originates prior to thought as something mantric. And then our speech becomes oracular, like something prophetic. It speaks the past and the present to the future. And it 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 speaks an intention and a prayer, and it invokes something, right? It becomes an invocation of its own. And that's very different than a modality or a diagnosis or a treatment. It is more radical. It's really a process of radical understanding, then. That's what another definition we could give for psychoanalysis is a process of radical understanding. I find it liberating because I'm someone who's learned a lot of different modalities and medical systems and astrological systems and whatnot. And as much as I love all of those practices and as incredibly useful they all are, there's something to be said about the simplicity and irreducibility of the analytic encounter that is so depthful and meaningful and beyond the artifices of modality, that really sort of penetrates the knot of any kind of preconceived language, even. Because what are we listening to in an analysis? We are listening to the speech of the patient. They are the subject that speaks, and whatever their speech is the truth, right? We're not looking to provide recommendations in the sense of now you should do this. Here are some strategies for your problem. It's not problem based, it's not problem oriented, and it's not problem reinforcing. Analysis seeks to loosen the entire sense of problem and to recover a sense of being that is already the case, but latent in some way, not quite embodied yet. So I really think of analysis as an embodied speech and a mantric speech, a sacred speech, and a sacred encounter that for me isn't just something that originates with Freud, but has significant Eastern underpinnings, at least in my understanding and my experience of it and my practice of it.